come on, hand. Today, we talk about different materials and textures that you put below your feet. You're subservient to my toes. To better understand the different kinds of floors that we now have today, let's talk about the first floors. You know, the ones that were intense and stuff. They were obviously paved in gold and... Oh wait, they were dirt. People would just like hard pack the dirts, you know, stomp, 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 stomp. There, it is hard packed. And then they would use like combine dirt and sand and clay in different ratios and percentages, amounts, if you want to be that way about that word, and which makes it all flat and crusty and like nice and be like, this doesn't look like dirt at all. It looks like hard packed dirt. And then they could sweep the dirt from side to side and sweep it up into a pile of dirt and then take that dirt and put it outside with the other dirt. It was really just a bunch of dirt. But floors like this can have problems when they get wet, since, you know, dirt and water, it makes mud. Oh great, a rainstorm, just what I always wanted. And now I get like these splashy little puddles over there, and it feels like all those little piggies that are all they're coming! It must have been terrible for people. They're like in the rain outside and they're like splash, 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 splash. And then they'd open the door and be like, oh good, I can go inside and splash, splash. It's no different. This stinks. And they would shove straw into the mud or stone into the mud or even cut pieces of wood in the mud. But you know, they'd do this to like keep it away from their feet and their little pitties. Not their piggies, their pitties, their little toes. So smashing cut wood or stones into mud was a better choice. There was less mess from the mud between the stones, and they didn't need to replace it. They just sweep it. Be like, Timmy, I need you to dust the mosaic floor rocks. That is my favorite job, to dust the mosaic floor rocks. But why did they not use cement like we do now today? That's the question you're asking, right? Of course. That is obvious question that I'm asking, Ned. How did you know? Well, the truth is, they did. Yep. Oh, but you know, they only used it for like certain things because it was expensive. It was hard because they had to make the cement. They had to make it. Make it. But because we weren't just like picking it up off the ground and there's your cement, make a floor, it cost quite a bit more than simply like whacking down a tree and putting the boards down and walking all across and being like, oh, I got a splinter in my paw. I need a napkin. As such, though, you know, people would take a board and they'd sand it, and then you wouldn't get the splinters in your paws or your feet. And then, you know, they'd go ahead and they'd raise the floor off the ground, and so it'd be mud down below and wood up above, and they'd be able to walk on the wood, and the water, it would go down between the planks, and then they'd have nice, cozy, cushy, warm kind of floors that they could go ahead and walk on and be safe, and they wouldn't make the splashy mud pies in their house anymore. People would treat the boards by staining them. That's like taking some wax or some other sap or minerals, and they'd rub it into it and they'd make it all shiny, and then it'd make it like not rot away so fast. Or they'd lightly toast the outside with fire, like setting number 8 on the toaster, dude. Doing so preserved or protected the wood from rotting and other damage, because wood has pores in it and they soak up things like water, and if you get mud and water in it, then they start to rot, and then you don't have wood floors anymore. You're walking along and oh, there goes my floor. Oh, I'm in the mud again. So princes and monarchs, you know, kings and queens, unholy judges, those guys, they had floors. They were special. They had mosaics all over. That's little pieces of tiles cut in fancy little patterns, and they actually had gold-covered floors. They were that crazy. But you know, as time went on, and trees started to cost more to cut down and make into boards, and making the materials for concrete became easier because of machines, where they could mine the materials and do it faster, and make a lot more than like, make it in my backyard kind of stuff. And tiles and other items made from clays for floors. So ceramics are really just clay. So if you ever like started digging a big hole and you're like, oh, I'm digging into dirt and you get down here and you're like, oh, I found this sticky like clay stuff. That's clay! And so you take clay and you can make objects out of it like tiles and bricks and things like that. So different types of modern floors include, but are not limited to, hardwood, ceramics, and stone, laminate floor, and carpet. So each has a benefit as to why you would want to use it, and a drawback or an issue with using it. Oh, yes, hardwoods. They are some of the favorites, and these are what you think they are. They're made of wood, and the wood has all these little pores in them, like we talked before, and they have holes. And much like your face has pores, like if you get really close, you have little holes where your hairs come out of, or where your skin is, and they can get dirt inside the pores, just like you get dirt inside your pores, and then you get a blackhead like the floor gets. Well, the floor doesn't get a blackhead, but it soaks in the stuff and can make it damaged and make it, wear out a lot faster than it does before. So floors, when left untreated, will absorb dirt and stuff into those holes like your face. So when floors are made, then you go ahead and you seal them. You spread a sealant across it, and basically you fill all the little holes with something that you're happy with. Oh, I'm so happy with you, sealant. I love you so much more than the dirt inside my pores. And it makes it all shiny when you put a sealant across there, and then you go over here and you start running in your socks, and you're like, Kshua! And sliding back and forth, and you slip and fall and hit your head. And then mom's like, hey, what's going on down there? Physics. And it's also like the times when you have the cats, and the cats, they get all crazy in the head, and they start running around the house, and they go sliding across the floor, and then they can't stop as they're trying to run the corner, and they run into a wall, and you're like, you're so foolish, you didn't make that at all. And while these wood floors, they are nice, but they do take quite a bit of time to keep looking and working really well. You don't want to have to use like a blackhead pour strip on your floor to get all the dirt out. Keep it clean. Ceramics and stones, like these guys right here. The rocks and the stones, but the stone tile floors, they're very similar to ceramics. These are really just both a form of rock. One is formed and fired, and the other one you simply cut like sliced bread and then lay it down on the ground and then you walk on it. And if you ever seen a rock before in your life, then you know how hard they are. But like rocks do, these kinds of floors, they last a really long time with limited maintenance and stuff. But like a rock, they have a high thermal transfer rate. You say, what now, Ned? Are you okay? Yes, in other words, a thermal transfer rate is how fast heat is absorbed or removed into the item. If you touch like the middle cooking sheet just by not wearing a hot hand, you'll be like, my hand, it's on fire. So rock and ceramic floors have a high thermal transfer rate. This is nice if it's hot outside and the floor is cold. You can be like, I'm just going to lay here oh my goodness, that feels so nice. And while that's good and cool while it's hot, it is not so nice when it is cold outside. Then you're like, I am being sapped for every little bit of heat that I am worth as you step across the cold, cold floors. And you're like, I am cold. Why did I choose ceramic or stone? Laminate floors, well, these are made from different kinds of resins, which is a nice fun way of saying they're made of plastic, just different kinds. And they choose how they layer them up, so, it's fine, we're walking on plastic. And there are so many of these now, ones which look like plastic floor, others that look like hardwood floor, others that look like tile floor, but, it's all the same. They keep improving these ones, making all kinds of new plastics, and putting them all over the floors. And it all depends on, do you want a costly one or a not costly one? These are super easy to install into rooms, and they come in little squares that you can just slap down with the glue on the floors sometimes, or they interlock, and then you can just snap them together with a little hammer and a little block and go tap-a-tap, tap, 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 tap. Yes, just like that. The problem is, they just don't last that long compared to other options. There are better, harder surfaces coming out all the time, but they will scratch and pit easier than others like tile and stone and stuff. Next is my favorite, is carpet. It's fake fiber, wool's polyester, or cotton, and they come in all kinds of different weaves and colors. You can get them woven into pretty little pictures, or ones with dogs, or other animals too, I guess, if you want to do that. I don't know why. Back in the 80s, they were all nice and orange, and now we've all gone to grays and browns and things that look like there's dirt on the floor. We just circled back to making it look like it's dirt. But the nice thing about these is they've got foam padding underneath that makes your toes nice and cushy. It can be like you're walking on pudding. Although that sounds disgusting. I don't want to walk on pudding. But something like that, less disgusting, and you can lay down on it, and you're like, oh, this isn't quite as good as a bed, but I could probably fall asleep here. And I do! And believe it or not, there are even more types of carpet than there are laminate floors. You want nice tall shag carpet? Nice low pile? Like low. And even some of these, you can get them in like tile patterns. The laminate floor ones too. They come in little boxy flat things that you can cut. They do it that way for carpet pieces too. And you can slap them together. And that's what you often see in like office buildings and things like that. Because it's easy to take one out and put another one back in. The biggest problems with carpets and rugs is they trap dirt. And pollens too. And dog hairs. Yeah, my stuff too. I can't hide it anymore. It's on your clothes. So, floors used to be made of gold for most people. Dirt for most people. Only the rich fancy pants paved their floors in gold. And they used to use cheap materials like straw and wood and stones shoved into mud. Nicer floors can last longer, while there are a lot of different choices to make on what to use. Hardwood can last a long time, but require maintenance to keep it clean and shiny. Get those, pore strips out and clean the floors. Options of ceramic and stone. Those ones last a long time, but are often cold and expensive. And, if you live in the desert, maybe that makes sense. Laminate floors are a good cost option. They are getting better options all the time to make it out of plastic and are easy to install with a tippy tap of the hammers. But don't get too attached, as they wear out faster and you might need to replace them more often. Carpets are soft and lovely to look at. Be sure to bathe them properly and keep them smelling nice to get rid of the allergens and the trapped dirts that are in them, much like your dogs and stuff. And love the little soft, squishy foam underneath that feels like pudding between your toes. Keep your minds open and your ears too. Go and learn things. It's good for you. Bye. Oh, I love this kind of floor. That they wanted to have the dirt inside the dirt, or inside their house. I got confused. Not the piggies. They're pitties, like their toes. Sure, everybody knows that's the contents of cement. And I gotta do it again. They're really just, I cannot say this one. Come on, help me. Help me, Manda. Keep your minds open, and your ears too. Go and learn things. It's good for you. You couldn't even see my eye. I got too close that time. Oh, I got a splinter in my paw. It is the worst. I need a napkin.